Welcome to the Author Alchemist podcast, where I talk about mindset, process, and productivity for writers. My name is Kimber York, and I have years of experience as a fan fiction writer, a professionally published author, and a productivity coach. This is a judgment-free zone for writers of all genres, abilities, and skill levels, where I focus on the hard part, sitting down to write. Welcome back, y'all. It's Kimbu. And yes, you were getting the full Gothic experience. I was going through some old makeup that I had in my makeup kit that I keep here in this area, and I realized there's just a lot of old junk in there. Things from before the pandemic. Woo! So I went through it, threw out a bunch of stuff. I came across this lipstick and I was like, oh, I was trying on different lipsticks to see if I still wanted them. Some were decent lipsticks, but it's just not a color I would wear anymore. So I was like, oh, well, this is pretty dark. Do I really? Turns out it's long stay lipstick. So I'm pretty much stuck with this until I take a shower later tonight. So you're welcome. I decided to add a little bit of eyeshadow just to complete the look. Kimbu circa 1997? I don't know. Anyway, here I am talking to you, not about goth, not about makeup, but about writing. Yeah, that's why we're here. I wanted to talk to you about writing, and the incentive for this particular podcast was finding the joy in writing. I think this is a Rubicon that most authors who decide to become professional published authors have to cross at some point. For some of us, it's a very easy trip across that river, but for others of us, it can become a little turbulent. And that is losing the joy when we start approaching our work professionally, right? So it is not fun when you realize that the thing that you love to do is something you need to do to make money. There could be a little bit of a heady rush there for a little while, but as time drags on and commitments drag on and stories drag on and publishing drags on, you just get a little flat, don't you? I do, and I have. What I've realized is that for me to connect with the joy again, I have to write fan fiction. If you don't write fan fiction, if you're not interested in fan fiction, please keep listening, because this isn't about fan fiction. This is about finding something that hits you in the heart with your writing. Some aspect you love about it so much that it flows like a river. For me, that is fan fiction. For you, it might be journaling. It might be writing a memoir. It might be a passion project, a family history. It might be just something wacky and completely not aligned with your niche or what you normally write. If you write historical fiction, maybe you're writing a fantasy horror short story and you're just getting it all out and getting the juices going. But it's not productive, quote unquote. But it is productive, and that's what we're talking about today. Productivity, especially when I work with my clients, I find that it's defined often with not just production of output of something, right? Like a product, that is production. We tend to think of it as a product that can be sold. If you know me, you know I'm not a huge fan of capitalism. I'm all about making money and living a good life, but sometimes the idea that our entire lives are supposed to be about the hustle and the grind to make the money, to get that dollar bill, to make that coin, can drive us into despair. Because sometimes things that we love the most aren't gonna make us money. I mean, a silly example, of course, is my dog Keely, who's actually off camera right now, laying on the floor, wondering when she's gonna get a treat. Shh, don't say the word. She's not making me any money. I mean, I love her and I can use her in my marketing a little bit, but let's face it, she's not making me any money. But I love her. She's my precious boo. I would not be the person I am today without her in my life. And honestly, I could say the same thing about fan fiction. Not because fan fiction has any marketability or magical powers or anything like that, but because it is something I love. And it gives me that joy to go back into it, sit down, get into the zone, write about my blorbos, and just enjoy the writing process again. I find that when I stop writing fan fiction, my original writing slows down. I don't think creativity is something that reacts well to being channeled and gated and fenced in. I think whatever drives your creativity needs to be let loose, needs to be free. And if that means doing crude and rude sayings in cross stitch, which I have some friends who do that, or fan fiction, or cosplay, maybe nothing even associated with writing at all. But if you're not letting your creativity through, if you're not engaging with your creativity, then it's just going to simply dry up. And you will be laying there as in a desert on your back, begging for water, and there's nothing there. Because you have taken all the sources away. You're not participating in the joyous leap into creativity that it takes to keep writing, even at a professional level. I don't think it's coincidence that some of the most prolific and productive and successful, by whatever metrics you want to use to define success, those writers are ones who love writing, who love telling the story, who love coming up with the story, who love discovering their characters. And this isn't about discovery writing either. You can discover your characters in the pre-planning when you're doing the outline and the character sheets. You might be like me. Discovery writing is my jam. And so I find out my characters as I go along. I'm doing that with Transmigrated Terry. Turns out she's cusses a lot more than I thought she did. Very grumpy person. I was trying to make her this cold, stoic, bitter, angry woman. And yet, no, she's a bit of a hothead, apparently. Okay, good to know, but I enjoyed finding that out in a scene that I was writing because I was letting it happen. And if you work with outlines, if you work with very strict, summaries and character sheets and things like that, maybe discovery writing in a scene or a chapter isn't what drives your creativity. It doesn't contribute to your creativity. Doesn't contribute to your creativity as much as it does for me. But at some point, you're in that zone. You're in that zone and you're writing and you're having fun. And whether you're writing the outline or the character sheets or you're doing discovery writing, you're going to get in there and you're going to start just feeling the vibe of what's going on with the story. And that is amazing. Until it's not. Until it doesn't happen anymore. And I realized for myself, and the reason I'm making this particular video is because while I was fighting so hard with myself to force myself to write what I'm supposed to be writing, quote unquote, I was strangling my own creativity. It's not a zero-sum game. The more you create, the more creative you are, the more you give into that urge, the more you'll find, the more accessible it'll be for you. when I finally gave in to the urge and was just like, you know what, I have this great idea for a fanfic story. I haven't written fan fiction in months, a year. It's been a long time. So I sat down and I started writing. Next thing I knew, I had 13,000 words of a story. Am I ever going to post the story? I think I will. It's called The Bastards of Young Men, and it's a story in the CQL Untamed fandom, a Chinese drama. Maybe I'll post it. I've teased a little bit about doing that. But that's beside the point. You know, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it's fun. And as I did that, as I started getting into that, as the word count started going up, I found myself, switching Scribner projects and going back to Transmigrated Terry. And suddenly she's being kidnapped and she's being taken away in a carriage. And what? I don't know how that happened, but my brain was just charged up with ideas of what was going to happen next and how she was going to react to it. And apparently she's going to react by cussing a lot. Okay, all right, Terry, you just cuss those dudes out who kidnapped you. Sounds like a good time. Her dog doesn't approve. Terry's dog, Theo, is her familiar, and they have a psychic bond so they can talk to each other mentally. And Theo's a very, very unique creature. He's adorable. But he's, he doesn't like the cussing. He doesn't approve of that. These are the things I've discovered because I let myself. I'm not trying to hold myself back and tie myself down. Anyway, this is going to be a short podcast, y'all. I've got some other ideas in the hopper that I want to talk about. Enjoy the goth look while it's here. I don't think it's going to be coming back anytime soon because now I've gone through my makeup kit. I don't have to try on any more lipsticks to see if I like them. I know I like this one, but maybe for the club, right? Yeah, for the club, I think. Maybe not for the podcast. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you would like to get a little bon mots for me on the regular, I do not every day, but every other day, give or take, Coffee with Kimbu shorts here on YouTube as well, so that you can just keep up with what I'm doing on a more regular basis. Of course, there's the Scriptorium, which is my blog, my fiction platform, which is at Ream, at least for now. And I've got podcasts and other podcasts around the writer's table. Man, I'm just scattered everywhere. You know what? Because I love it. I love talking to people. I love talking about my stories. And I love hearing from you. So if you're listening to this, please reach out to me. I would love to hear your questions, your thoughts on writing, on fan fiction, on other types of creativity that you use to supplement your writing. Let me know. Let me know what brings you joy. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you get done everything you need to get done, and I will talk with you soon. Thanks. That's a wrap on another episode of the Author Alchemist Podcast. I'm Kimbu York, and you can find all of my books, blogs, and other projects at houseofyork.info. All one word, House of York, no spaces, .info. Thanks for dropping by.